Hello, folks. It's me, once again, Denny Carter from NBC Sports Edge, powered by Rotoworld. Of course, thank you for joining me for yet another waiver wire Q&A. I know you come here every week demanding answers, and I hopefully can give you some, even though I will waffle. I'm known to waffle, is what I'm saying. You can find my waiver wire piece on NBCSportsEdge.com. It's a mouthful, but not too much. I have everything written up. I'm so many running backs and receivers that you could pick up during this really horrific bye week. You know, you're missing all the Bills players. You're without Justin Jefferson. You're without Dalvin Cook. Other teams who I don't have in front of me right now, but mostly the Bills and the Vikings bye week is absolutely killing my seasonal teams this week. But there is hope. I believe that you can get by on the waiver wire this week at all positions, really. You have at least three to four good tight end pickups for this week only. Like not really like long-term situations where you have an every week starter. But as I say in my piece, on my waiver wire piece on NBCSportsEdge.com, there are some really good spots for tight ends, including Juwan Johnson, who I think we've talked about him on this stream before. And by we, I mean me and my multiple personalities. Well, my interns. You shut up over there. Sorry. And Cade Otton, who is, I feel like I'm a little bit too bullish on Cade Otton. I'm trying to tone it down a little bit, but he's in a really good position. Don't tell anyone. Don't tell your league mates that Cade Otton is a really, really good play going forward if Cam Brate is going to miss time with a really scary neck injury, which obviously we're glad the x-rays came back. There was nothing broken, but he should be expected to miss some time. Cade Otton slots into the most fantasy-friendly position of any waiver wire tight end by a long shot. And really, he's in a more favorable fantasy position because the Bucs run so many plays, because they pass so much, than a lot of guys who would be considered every week starters. I have to show you my shirt before we begin. Ask your questions, ask away. I see lots of questions filling up my little sidebar here. You're trying to interrupt my monologue, telling me, please shut up. Please stop talking and answer my questions. I'll never stop talking. I'll never stop talking. Let me show you my shirt. I like it a lot. All right. We have the classic Charles Schultz Peanuts situation there. My daughter, of course, said, "What's that, Dad?" And I said, "What have I done as a father that my 6-year-old daughter doesn't know about the Charlie Brown Halloween special? Where have I been?" It sent me spiraling into an existential crisis. So we need to watch that, is what I'm saying, me and my daughter. I encourage you to watch it with your kids, or you know what? Watch it alone. Before I had kids, I watched it. I'm not gonna lie. You know what else I watched every year before I had kids? As an adult, in my 30s, I watched the Garfield Halloween special, I think from 1986. I might have it on DVD. Actually, I know I have it on DVD. And it's quite good. It's quite fun and good. I like it a lot. So you should try to watch that either with your kids or not with your kids. It doesn't matter. There's no judgment here. I'm a very judgmental person, actually. But on this, there is no judgment. One more thing before we get into your questions. I feel for Melvin Gordon. The cameras, the ESPN cameras went back to Melvin Gordon time and time again during Monday night's game against the Chargers, against his former team. And our guy Melvin was clearly not happy about being benched. He Nathaniel Hackett, the head coach of Denver, said on Tuesday morning, no, Melvin Gordon is not injured, implying that, yes, he was benched for Latavius Murray, who's been with the team for 15 minutes. It's really something. It's not nothing. And so they kept panning to poor Melvin Gordon standing alone, making these faces, clearly just aggravated, disappointed that he can't get out there, even with Javonte Williams out of the picture with his unfortunate knee injury and everything. And I feel for him. I've heard him speak to the media before. He comes off as a very sensitive guy. And I like that. It's nice to have a professional athlete who is genuinely a sensitive person. You know, most are raging high T dudes, not Melvin Gordon. Not saying he's not tough. Of course he's tough. He's tough as nails. Melvin Gordon's one of the few running backs who like seeks contact. So we respect him for that. But apparently the Chargers on their Jumbotron, which I think is the size of a medium-sized American city, showed Melvin Gordon and put, I believe it was a clown emoji over his face last night. I didn't see it, so I can't confirm, but I got reports from Broken Brains I follow online who said that indeed happened. Can anybody in the chat confirm that this happened? Did I fall for a trick? I'm looking for confirmation. Anyway, yeah, so they did Melvin Gordon like that. They put a clown emoji over his face on the Jumbotron in the Charger Stadium. That's unnecessary. You're kicking a guy while he's down. Why would you do that? That's messed up. And Melvin Gordon after the game said, yeah, I mean, that I don't have the quote in front of me, but basically I didn't appreciate that. That was tough. You know why? Because Melvin Gordon is an honest, upfront, again, sensitive man. And something like that is brutal. I couldn't deal with that. Could you? Your former team making a mockery of you on national TV as you're benched for reasons unknown. No one knows why. No one knows. Nathaniel Hackett doesn't know why. Gordon doesn't know it. He's healthy. Okay, I know he came into the week with 15 injuries, but he's healthy. No one knows. I'm looking for confirmation. I don't see confirmation. Oh well. All right, we're gonna get. So I solidarity with Melvin Gordon. I hope that he can get his way out of that toxic, dysfunctional situation in Denver, one of the most backward franchises in the NFL, that is doomed for all eternity, well, at least for the next 5 or 6 years, with Russell Wilson at quarterback. I hope Gordon gets out of there. I hope he finds a place where he can get some run. Okay. You know what? I'm going to go to the top here. Greg McDonald, our guy, Greg McDonald. Everybody knows Greg McDonald. I'm kidding. But thank you, Greg. Joined me before I even went live here. He was waiting in the YouTube waiting room, and I appreciate that, Greg. I'm going to get to you first. And of course, you have a kicker question, which I appreciate. No, to answer your question, I do not do the kicker corner column anymore for NBC Sports Edge. I did that the last 2 seasons, I want to say. I'm not doing that anymore, but I include kickers in my waiver column. I guess the folks don't scroll down. I think that's what I'm learning with the kicker situation here, is that folks, they check out the quarterbacks, the running backs, the receivers, maybe the tight ends, and then they log off. Or maybe they just don't read it at all. I don't know. We have to look into it. My interns, you look into that right now. Is anyone reading my column? Thank you. Why did I say thank you to my? I take that back. No, thank you. Anyway, no, I don't do the kickers, but the kicker column separate. But I do have it in the waivers. So Greg says, should I keep Nick Folk rest of season or pivot to Jason Myers or Brandon McManus, otherwise known as McGotis? That's what the kids are calling him these days. So, the Patriots are producing enough positive and neutral game script for Nick Folk to be a thing again. And this is after I told people, please don't draft Nick Folk in your redraft leagues. Oh, well, nevertheless, we persist. I would go with Folk. McManus is in a good spot this week. Jason Myers is well over what we call field goal expectation. His attempts are way over what we would expect them to be through 6 weeks. So he's on the fortunate side, I should say, not lucky, because he's a good kicker. But and also Jason Myers is a great name for Halloween time, and that's analytics. Okay, you want to talk? Everybody said, "Well, what's analytics? Is it this? Is it that?" Playing Jason Myers in late October on your fantasy team, that's analytics. So anyway, go with Nick Folk. All right. Oh, did someone say I have an echo? Oh no! Wait, do you guys hear an echo? Shoot. I hope there's no echo. No echo. Okay. Whew. Here's another where you know what? I'm going to torture you guys early on with kicker stuff. Myers or McLaughlin. I mentioned Chase McLaughlin, the Colts kicker, in the column. That is tough. Let's see who. So the Seahawks are actually 6.5-point dogs this week. So I cannot, in good conscience, recommend Jason Myers, even though obviously he is a good Halloween play. Here we go. How much would you bid for Matt Ryan? This is from Sean C. I have Cousins. So Cousins has his bye week. He's the only team with who needs a quarterback. How much would you bid? I mean, he's by far the best waiver pickup of the quarterbacks this week by far, and he's available in like 75% of leagues. So I am targeting him myself in a couple leagues. I'd say 10% in that situation, something along those lines. All right. Let's see. Oh, we're back to Melvin Gordon. He gets paid millions. You're not allowed to have feelings if you get paid millions. Come on. If you get compensated well, you have to do away with all human emotion. Everyone knows that. Silly Melvin Gordon. Ethan asks, is Dak Prescott a comfortable QB1 this week versus Detroit? Listen, yes. Detroit is a miserable defense, but especially bad against the pass. I'm hoping that the Cowboys shift a little more toward the pass this week with Dak back in the fold. And that would be excellent. That would be great for everybody in this offense, including, of course, Dak, of course, CeeDee Lamb, and a guy who I wrote up in this week's waiver wire column. You may have heard of him, Michael Gallup. Gallup is second on the team in targets and pass routes over the past 2 weeks. He came this close to about a 15, 20-yard touchdown against the Eagles, if not for an incredible play by Bradbury, the cornerback for Philadelphia, to tip the ball away. It looked for all the world. I actually remember I watched that play. I watched the throw. I saw Gallup in the back of the end zone by himself, basically. And I remember looking away and thinking, oh, that's a touchdown. What? I don't know why I do that, but I do. Like, I refuse to watch the game is what I'm saying. I don't watch the game. No, I do, but I look away in a situation. Oh, that's a touchdown. I looked away and it's tipped. Oh, it's tipped and it's out of bounds. And as someone who has some Michael Gallup going, I was a little bit disappointed in the excellent play of the Philadelphia secondary. Anyway, get Michael Gallup. He's available in half of leagues. You'd rather be early on him. I mean, he hasn't gone off or anything, but the Cowboys offense is not fantasy friendly. It just isn't. Like, they're not running a lot of plays. They're way under pass rate over expected. It's CeeDee Lamb or bust in the passing game. And sometimes it's just bust, like it was against the Eagles. So get ahead of it. Get Michael Gallup. I mean, I'm not saying that I would chop off my left pinky for Michael Gallup in some leagues this week, but I'm not saying that. You're not safe, Pinky. You're not safe. Okay. Tim says, does Deion Jackson stay on rosters? Yeah, Deion Jackson, he's the Colts running back, functioned as the workhorse really last week against Jacksonville. Had 10 targets. 10. He caught 10 of 10 targets for 79 yards. He also had 40 some yards and a touchdown. Look, I'm just spitballing here. No, I'm kidding. I blurbed Deion Jackson, so I remember. He's a good player. The thing is, he's hurt. Jonathan Taylor seems to be maybe have a chance to suit up this week with that ankle injury, maybe. And Nyheim Hines, he's still in the concussion protocol, I believe. I would think that he would have a decent chance of clearing that, but you never know. You never know with a brain injury. So we'll see. We'll see there. Yeah. So if Deion Jackson hadn't been hurt, he would be probably the top waiver pickup this week. Honestly, maybe the second, maybe second only behind Wan'Dale Robinson. But the injury really throws a wrench in things. So I would make sure that Nyheim Hines is not on your waiver wire, by the way. He's on half of waiver wires. I guess folks just got sick to their stomachs about Hines, suffering a head injury 3 plays into week 5 against the Broncos. So, but all 3 plays were designed for him before that injury. I think that he would be in line for a really good workload if Jonathan Taylor is out this week. So grab Hines if you can. All right, let's go to this person who says, what type of production do you expect out of Wandale and Pierce? Need to cover for Kupp and Gabe Davis, and it's not looking good. Yeah, I mean, how can it look good? Honestly, I'm not making jokes here. Like, when you have to replace Cooper Kupp, who falls out of bed and scores 25 PPR points. It's amazing. They should have a highlight of that. They have to fall out of bed, bang, 25 PPR points. And then Gabe Davis, who, again, he scores too many touchdowns for fantasy purposes. He's inconsistent. You don't know with Gabe Davis whether you're going to get 1 touchdown or 2 or 3. It's inconsistent. Okay, I'd rather have a guy who never scores a touchdown. I know what I'm getting. But yeah, Gabe Davis is also really solid option. Good upside guy. So, okay, with Wan'Dale, I'm thinking that he'll be in like the high-end wide receiver 3 in 12-team PPR leagues. He'll be in that range because there's just not a whole lot of passing going on there for PPR. Now, Wan'Dale is way, way, way better, I think, in PPR formats than he is definitely in standard. Standard, I don't even know if he's on the radar. And then half PPR, I suppose you could get by with him as a wide receiver 3, possibly, maybe wide receiver 4. But I do sort of envision a scenario, where the Giants stop easing in Wandale. They give him a full complement of snaps. They use him in a variety of ways in the backfield as a rusher, at those cheap PPR points around the line of scrimmage, some dump offs, maybe even a downfield shot. I mean, Wan'Dale Robinson was a very productive downfield pass catcher in college, so he can do that. It's just a matter of the Giants scheming that up and Daniel Jones being willing to throw downfield, which he almost never is. I can envision a scenario where eventually it's Saquon, it's Wan'Dale, and it's basically nobody else in the Giants offense. No Bellinger, no Slayton, Kadarius Toney, still battling 3 to 5 hamstring injuries. It's not funny. But I think that the Giants offense could become predictable in a good way for fantasy with those two, Saquon and Wan'Dale, getting a lot of the action. Pierce is a little different. Now, the Alec Pierce, we're talking about the rookie Alec Pierce for the Colts. He had a mini breakout game in week 5 against Denver. He came back to earth a little bit. He was more of a rotational receiver in week 6 against the Jags. He ran around on only 70% of Matt Ryan's dropbacks, whereas Michael Pittman and Paris Campbell ran around on 100%, right, on every Ryan dropback. Also, if the Colts are committed to this quick hitting pass offense that they tried very successfully, actually 385 yards and 3 touchdowns for Matt Ryan. If they're committed to continuing that into the coming weeks, that's way better for the Colts running backs, for, I guess, Pittman, and for Paris Campbell, who operates in the intermediate and short areas of the field, whereas Alec Pierce is a downfield guy who I think his opportunities would be limited in such a passing scheme, right? It doesn't mean that Alex Pierce is not playable, but I think that the way he's used, he has a very high average depth of target, a very high air yards per target. He's going to be volatile. So some weeks it's going to look great. He's going to catch 3 balls, maybe for 80 to 100 yards and a touchdown, and you're going to be really happy. And then other weeks he'll catch 1 for 20 yards and no touchdown. And you'll say, well, what happened? And that's just the way that he's being used in the offense. So from a pure, like a PPR standpoint, I talk a lot about PPR because it is the only legitimate scoring format. Okay. We like a game within a game, folks. Okay. I don't want real football to reflect fantasy football in any way. I'm sorry, the other way around. I don't want fantasy to reflect real football in any way. So we love PPR. I guess Campbell is the preferred option, and that feels weird because he had a 9% target per route run rate headed into week 6. 9. Do you understand how low that is? I don't think that there's another receiver headed into last week who had a lower target per route run rate. I'd have to check. I checked yesterday, and I believe there was nobody with a lower rate. So he blows up for 11 targets. Paris Campbell, he catches a touchdown against the Jags. So he had some interest if the Colts continue to do what they did in week 6. All right, let's get to more questions here. What is this? When I started spitting fire at bad questions, I don't remember John Daigle, my former colleague, ever clapping back at people. What am I clapping back at? I've never clapped back. I don't even know how to. Here's a trade offer that James is considering. James says he would get Ezekiel Elliott, Godwin, Deontay Johnson. He would give Keenan Allen and Miles Sanders. Yeah, I actually think I would do that. Deontay Johnson has been running super bad. Okay. Not like the movie, but like, in other words, he's getting so many targets. He should be far outproducing. I don't think that there's another receiver, full-time receiver, who has a worse fantasy points over expected than Deontay Johnson. In other words, he is really underperforming his opportunity in the Steelers offense. He's still a target hog. He literally does nothing after the catch, but he's still seeing a lot of targets. So I like him as a buy low. Godwin saw a ton of targets, didn't do a whole lot. I think, it went for like 90 yards against the Steelers. Yeah, we're so disappointed by like a 7-catch, 90-yard performance from Chris Godwin. So yeah. Let's do this trade. James, do it. All right. Jorge says, should I trade Aaron Jones? I'm starting to get worried. No. I do. I think the Packers will be forced eventually, hopefully starting this week against Washington, to use Aaron Jones in a fuller capacity, if you know what I'm saying. Like, it's time to give up the ghost, as the Zoomers say, on this like split backfield where AJ Dillon is seeing half the targets and half the routes and half the carries and everything. Folks, AJ Dillon, probably a fine young man. He is, the kids are calling him mid. Okay. Aaron Jones is not mid. He is special. And I do think the Packers will be forced to put the ball in Aaron Jones' hands. So don't freak out. Don't freak out with Aaron Jones. Here's a tight end question. Yeah, I'm torn. Robert says Cade Otton, the Bucs presumed starter this week, or Greg Dulcich, who was active for the first time in week 6 against the Chargers. and caught two passes for 44 yards and a touchdown on 3 targets. He ran a route on like 75-ish% of Russell Wilson's dropbacks, which is strong. That's really strong, especially for a debut. Like I thought we'd get a little bit of Dulcich. We got a lot of Dulcich. It's hard to say over and over again. Right. And Robert says he's desperately seeking tight end, which of course is on his dating profile. I don't know why you would put that in your dating profile, but Otten or Dulcich, I don't know, man. I go Otten. Otten is, I think, the safer option, but Dulcich has a lot of appeal in that Denver offense. The routes were good. Albert O possibly being traded, according to ESPN's Jeremy Fowler. There are some talks about Albert O perhaps leaving Denver. That would position Dulcich. Well, he's probably in that position anyway. So I would lean Otten just a little bit. Jackson says, is Mike Boone worth keeping? I mean, not really. He's purely passing down situation back. His only upside is like breaking like a long run after the catch. Whereas Latavius Murray, and I guess this is a good time to get into the Denver backfield. But Latavius Murray would be the preferred option there. Latavius just kind of becomes the starter everywhere he goes. He's not particularly good. It doesn't seem like particularly good, but like he went to Baltimore last year and instantly became the starter and then rotated with Devontae Freeman and everything. I know that, but Latavius had some good outings in 2021 for the Ravens. And for the Saints, he came in instantly their best running back. The Broncos sign him, instantly their best running back, or at least their preferred running back. So Latavius, I think, just completely destroys Mike Boone's upside, prospects, whatever you want to call it. So I don't think that you have to keep him now. All right, London says, I lost Marquise Brown. That's a tough break. Wants to know if he should pick up MVS, Wan'Dale, or Robbie Anderson. I would go Wan'Dale. Robbie Anderson, like Alec Pierce, like I just talked about a second ago, is going to be up and down everywhere. He should easily just slot in nicely as the only Arizona deep threat. With Marquise Brown out. Marquise Brown had a 43% air yard share on the season, the 5th highest among receivers through week 6. So that's a lot of air yards up for grabs. Robbie Anderson, is a downfield guy. Could have some big games. Predicting when those big games will happen is an entirely different issue. So Robbie Anderson will be tough to deal with for fantasy purposes, weekly fantasy purposes. I would go with Wan'Dale. Russell Westbrook. Thank you, Russell, for joining. It says, in PPR league, do you like Romeo Doubs or Tyquan Thornton? Yeah, I mean, let me just get into Thornton for a second here and look up what I wrote about him. So Thornton, with Kendrick Bourne leaving week 6 with an injury early in the game, Thornton, a rookie, ran around on 73% of Bailey Zappi's dropbacks, caught 4 passes for 37 yards and a touchdown. He had 3 rushes for 16 yards and another score. His usage was intriguing, right? I mean, I consider my interest peaked. Okay. The rushing really adds something to his profile. I think that, I know that there was a lot of talk about the Patriots offense wanting to use Kendrick Bourne in a role, I'm going to say it, in a Debo-like role, which, means rushing attempts, which means some short passes that he could take, he could work with after the catch. Anyway, maybe Tyquan Thornton is that guy. Maybe, he has that kind of dog in him. His dog level is very high, I have to say. Higher than Dobbs. Dobbs is tough. Because Rodgers has only really gone to him when there's nobody else. But with the Randall Cobb injury, Dobbs could see a few more targets here and there. I guess I'd go Dobbs, but I'm very interested in Thornton. You kind of have to imagine it with Thornton because we didn't really see it on full display in week 6. But the fact that he ran so many routes is great in his pro debut. All right. Josh Allen on a bye picked up Tua to fill in. Do you think I should just drop him, or is there enough value to try and trade him? Oh, well, I mean, in a one quarterback league, I can't imagine anybody would want to trade for Tua. I mean, not that he's a bad play. He's a very good play this week. The Steelers' pass defense, despite last week against Tampa, is actually pretty burnable. Okay, beatable, burnable, whatever the Zoomers are saying these days, they can be beat. So Tua is a good play this week, but no, I mean, you're not going to be able to trade him. Are you saying you're not saying drop Josh Allen? No, you can't be saying that. No, or trade him. No, you're not. Please. All right, let's move on to some more questions. With Jalen Hurts on a bye, do I start? Oh yeah, right. The Eagles are on a bye too. My Justin Jefferson, AJ Brown teams are hurting bigly, as some would say. Zach says, with Jalen Hurts on bye, do I start Geno or Derek Carr? I think you start. I think you start Geno. Maybe get back to me later in the week. Geno, he plays the Chargers. Derek Carr plays the Texans. I sort of see the Raiders just running roughshod over the Texans, like literally with Josh Jacobs. I'm not sure if Derek Carr has much of a ceiling there. And, I know Geno struggled a little bit last week, but I would go with him. Zap Man against the Bears this week as a bye week fill-in. I can confirm it is Zappy Hour. By the way, announcers love that stuff. The announcers for Patriots game. Don't worry, be zappy. It's Zappy Hour, folks. All that stuff. Man, they can't get enough. I have my interns looking into new ways to make fun of Bailey Zappi's last name. You get on that right now. I want 6 ways to make fun of Zappy by the end of the day. Or you're fired, obviously. All right. No, well, you could do better. This is a game where Zappy, with the right conditions, the right game script, could throw like 15, 20 passes against the Bears. So he is at best a floor option. I think the Patriots will run wild on the Bears. The Bears are either the first or second most extreme run funnel defense in the league through week 6. Luis says, should I pick up Josh Reynolds or Brandon Ayuk? Oh, I also have Debo starting and having 2 receivers. Yeah. Okay. Here's my thoughts on that are as follows. The Niners do not want to do what they did last week. And we saw why, right? They fell behind by 2 touchdowns early in the game. They had to go pass heavy. That is not the way they're designed. If and when they're forced into that, Ayuk and Samuel and I don't know why I'm so formal, Debo and Kittle to an extent, all of them can get there for fantasy purposes when the Niners are forced into a negative pass first, pass heavy game script. We saw that. That was cool. It was nice to see. Even though I didn't have any of them in DFS. Nevertheless, what I'm saying is Brandon Ayuk's ceiling is capped firmly by what the 49ers want to do on offense. I guess I would still go with Ayuk, though, over Josh Reynolds. Yeah, I think I would. I mean, the Lions are getting healthier. Josh Reynolds was basically the wide receiver one in Detroit for a week or two with Amon-Ra St. Brown sidelined and DJ Chark. Also, Jameson Williams. Sorry. Don't know where that came from. Jameson Williams should be back within the next 2 or 3 weeks. So I would go with Ayuk. Yeah. All right. Ivan says, or Ivan, perhaps. I have Hurts, Sanders, Brown, and Jefferson in the league. No questions. I just want to complain. Complain away, man. Let's get some complaints in the chat. There's not enough complaining in society anymore. We're also, we're fine. We're fine. And there's no complaining, and we need more complaining. So let's get some complaints in the chat. We're also content is the word I was looking for. Just so content. RB2 this week, Zeke, Brian Robinson, or Raheem Mostert. So with Taylor Heineke taking over for some reason as the starting quarterback in Washington, I think that the team will at least try to be super run heavy, and that's probably a great thing for Brian Robinson. Robinson, let's see, last week, I believe he outsnapped what's his face, Antonio Gibson, and scored a touchdown against Chicago. Let's see here, 17 carries, 60 yards, had a touchdown. So I think as the early down back, I think that Robinson could be interesting. I will say that probably Zeke is the play here, because if the Cowboys get out to a lead, they'll just hammer the run all day, which is unfortunate, but that's the way it works. Oh yeah. Real quick, what's McLaurin's outlook with Heineke at quarterback? It's bad, folks. It's real bad. Heineke last year was by far and away the worst downfield passer in the league. He's terrible. He's really, really bad. He has no arm strength. He has very little accuracy. McLaurin is a low-end wide receiver 2, high-end 3 with Heineke. I think Curtis Samuel can keep it up a little bit, just as like the dump-off option, and especially in PPR formats. But McLaurin's in a world of hurt now. That's tough. Denny said, "Run funnel, drink. Don't drink. Actually, you know what? You can, because we had we're now past the fantasy football happy hour on Peacock and the NFL and NBC YouTube page with Matthew Berry. So I guess you can go ahead. Diego, my buddy from way back. He's answering Tim's question, I think. All right. We have one here. Stream which quarterback this week? Lots of options. Derek Carr, Matt Ryan, Daniel Jones, Lawrence, or Wilson. It's not Lawrence, and it's not Wilson. It's probably not Jones. I'd go with Matt Ryan. I hope I'm not like a prisoner of the moment here with Matt Ryan, but I think what the Colts did against the Jags in Week 6 was really hopeful for the whole team's fantasy prospects going forward. Lots of checkdowns. Matt Ryan got the ball out more quickly than he has all season by a pretty wide margin. Only like 3 quarterbacks got the ball out more quickly than Matt Ryan last week. So if that continues, I think that's good for him. I think it's good for everybody in that offense. So let's go Ryan. I traded Aaron Jones for Kenneth Walker. That was bold, man. Whew. I mean, Kenneth Walker is basically like prime Le'Veon Bell without the pass catching work yet. But Ken Walker has a really great target per route run rate, which means that he is commanding targets and putting himself in position to be thrown to. I really think it's in the range of outcomes where Ken Walker becomes, or at least gets like half the pass catching work and all of the early down stuff for Seattle. He's so explosive. No, I don't think that was a bad idea. At first I wanted to say, are you nuts? But no, I retract that thought, which of course I just said aloud. Jacob says 10% half PPR. Should I pick up Everett, Gesicki, or Bellinger? Well, I would prefer Cade Otton or Dulcich. Yeah, I think so. Over it's Bellinger and Gesicki. Get out of here. Let me tell you, the Gesicki thing, you guys can just forget about. You're not allowed to be excited about Mike Gesicki. Stop. Okay. Durham Smythe, who is, listen, he's a person. He's a person who exists. He plays in the NFL. Specifically, he plays for the Miami Dolphins. Durham Smythe was out with a hamstring injury for week 6. That opened up a lot of routes, a lot of snaps, and a lot of targets. Not a lot, but 7 targets, 6 of which he caught. And he scored a touchdown, of course, talking about Gesicki against Minnesota. That's not happening going forward. It's just not. So when Durham Smythe is back, Gesicki is back to seeing like 3 targets a game. Bellinger, I just feel like anybody in that Giants offense outside of Wandale and Saquon are such a dart throw. Everett actually had some disturbing usage. I think he only ran a route on 70% or less, maybe a little less than 70% of Justin Herbert's dropbacks. McKitty, Trey McKitty for the Chargers. He took a lot of routes, and so did well, not a lot, but he took a good number, and so did Donald Parham. So Everett's usage was not great on Monday night. A little bit disappointed there. So I would prefer Cade Otton over those folks. I have the Eagles defense. Is the Jets defense worth picking up this week against Denver? Yeah. They're a good play. Also, the Denver defense is a good play against the Jets. I'm not sure. I think the Denver defense is not widely available. I'm going to check right now. I'm going to check for the folks. The folks need to know. Oh no, not coming up. They're available in 30% of leagues, 33% to be exact. The Denver defense is really good, like very, very strong. The Broncos should probably be undefeated would be undefeated probably if they had a halfway functional offense. They don't. But against Zach Wilson, and let me tell you, Zach Wilson has been horrendous over 2 games. Like PJ Walker was like unspeakably bad in week 6 against the Rams, and Zach Wilson was about that much better. Zach Wilson's terrible. I mean, if he's ever forced into a pass-heavy script, if they can ever not hide Zach Wilson, he is going to be in a world of hurt. That could be this week against Denver. I really like Denver as a option if you can get them. Daniel. Hello, Daniel. What is the realistic outcome and upside of Gus Edwards? Thanks, Bud. Thanks to you, Bud, for that question. I'm not excited about any Ravens running back. Okay. You can read my column on NBCSportsEdge.com, my waiver piece. I'm not excited about them because there's Lamar Jackson there to take a lot of the rushing opportunities, especially in the red zone and the green zone inside the 10. There's specialized players. We have Mike Davis for some reason taking goal line snaps this past week. I know J.K. Dobbins has the knee issue again. We don't know the extent of that quite yet. I think we'll know, late Tuesday, early Wednesday about his prospects for playing in week 7. Kenyan Drake is going to be a popular ad, but I don't get it. I don't get that at all. He had 10 carries, went for 119 yards and a touchdown. He ripped off like 4 or 5 carries of over 10 yards after having really terrible peripheral numbers in his early season usage in the Baltimore backfield. That was a mirage. You didn't actually see what you saw, what you think you saw. It didn't happen. Okay. Don't get excited about Kenyan Drake. Don't think that you're picking him up and getting, a 100-yard rusher every week who's going to see goal line. He's not going to see goal line work. Also, Lamar Jackson doesn't throw it to running backs. So Gus Edwards would be my preferred pickup, him and or Justice Hill. which is the name of my next album. But you would pick up Gus Edwards on the cheap, okay, in hopes that he would eventually become the lead early down back. But the upside is just really not there for any of these guys in the Baltimore backfield. All right, folks, we have 15 minutes. Jackson asks Alvin Kamara or Ramondre rest of season. So Kamara's been great. Had a great opportunity, lots of routes, lots of targets. That's what we're looking for with him, with Andy Dalton under center. That changes with Jameis Winston. Jameis Winston is horrendous for Alvin Kamara's fantasy prospects. But then again, you have Ramondre seeing a full workload. He's like a top 5, top 4 fantasy option when Damian Harris is out of the lineup. But Damian Harris will eventually be back, right? Right? Please, somebody tell me. I'm just kidding. I've never drafted Damian Harris in my life, but he has Damian Harris has the hamstring injury. He should be back. I guess I would lean Kamara because of that. But if you're asking like who would I play right now in week, well, no, but you're not. You're saying rest of season. But week 7, I would rank Ramondre over Alvin Kamara. Any thoughts on Cam Akers? No. I'm kidding. Keep him to see if he lands in a good situation. Yeah, I guess. If you're in a 12-team league, I guess it's worth. I'm keeping him in one league. I don't know why I drafted him. God, why? Anyway, yeah. See if he lands somewhere. Obviously, the Rams are done with Akers. Akers is done with the Rams. Something of that nature. Benching Aaron Jones, running with Saquon, Walker, and Zeke. I don't know. I don't know about that, folks. I would play Aaron Jones over Zeke, I guess. I have such conviction. You can't take that away from me. You got to hand it to me for having conviction. Rob says, hey there, should I start Kenny Walker? You sound like Pete Carroll. Pete Carroll always said, Kenny Walker. Kenny Walker or Dameon Pierce at the flex this week. Hey, that's an embarrassment of riches, man. Congratulations. Oof. I wish I was in that position. I think Pierce. It's hard to say, like, to start a guy like Pierce over Walker because Walker's a big play waiting to happen. So, Walker breaks all these big plays. He has a great elusive rating, great yards before contact, which is a sign of a running back who runs to daylight, runs to the open running lane, which we love to see, folks. We do love to see that. And so you look silly as a fantasy analyst if you say bench Ken Walker and he happens to break off a 75-yard touchdown, which he can. He's one of the few backs who could do that any given week. Like I said, like Le'Veon Bell in his prime is that kind of guy. But as far as like workload and game script, I guess I would go Pierce. But maybe that's not the way to approach it. This is tough. I would lean Pierce at the moment, though. Rob says, should I drop J.K. Dobbins for Wan'Dale? Drop Dobbins for Wan'Dale. I don't know. Is it a 10-team league? I guess. I mean, you'd have to be super thin at receiver. Also, McCaffrey being traded. The Niners, the Rams, the Bills have all been discussed as possible trading partners for CMC. I think, from a fantasy standpoint, you're not doing anything with CMC anyway, but you might want to pick up Deontay Foreman, who I believe, Carolina beat writers have said for months that Foreman would be the lead back for Carolina if McCaffrey were to get hurt. Of course, we're not talking about him getting hurt, we're talking about him leaving town. So from a fantasy perspective, maybe go ahead and pick up Foreman or Chuba Hubbard. Wow. Long question here from David. Nick Folk, Chris Boswell. Thank you for the kicker question, by the way. Cade York, Hopkins is not going to play this week. The guy was like screaming in agony after every field goal last night. Need to replace Rams defense and Bass. Okay. First of all, I have to say, I have to give the speech that I give during every bye week situation during the season. Do not hold on to two kickers, okay? And I know that if you have like McPherson or Tucker or something, you're gonna want to hold on to them while you pick up another guy to play this week, or even like Daniel Carlson or something. I would not do that. I would not do that. I guess you might be able to get by, but like there's way better ways to use your roster spots than to roster two kickers. It's just unnecessary. So I would drop Bass, and I would pick up Nick Folk, and then watch the weather though with that Patriots Bears game. And then I would drop Rams defense, and I would pick up the Jets. Yeah. Let's go with that for now. Should I pick up the Patriots? Oh, yeah. Patriots are an elite defensive play this week. Get them. MBS or Corey Davis at wide receiver this week. I think it's Corey Davis. The MBS is too shaky of an option, and Corey Davis is out there running a lot of routes. He's seeing a decent number of targets. I mean, he basically has been the Jets wide receiver one since Zach Wilson took over. Let's see, he has 4 catches on. He has nine catches on 14 targets and a touchdown over the past 3 games with Wilson. So I would go with Davis. He has more opportunity. MVS is just super frustrating. Taysom Hill or Kyle Pitts. Tight end is the only position that doesn't produce in my lineup. Tight end is tough. It always is. It's always a dumpster fire unless you have Mark Andrews and or Travis Kelce. So if Andy Dalton starts this week, Thursday night, the Saints play Thursday night against the Cardinals, I would start Taysom Hill over Kyle Pitts. Guys, I would start Cade Otton over Kyle Pitts. I tweeted about it the other day, but what the Falcons have going right now is perhaps the most fantasy hostile offense in living memory. No one alive remembers a more hostile offense for fantasy purposes. Kyle Pitts had a great route rate in week 6. Okay. He ran like 85% of the routes. That translated to, I think, 15 routes? Okay. So you're talking about almost all the routes, which comes out to 15, which is less than most teams tight end 2. Okay. So I don't know how you can play Kyle Pitts right now. So I'd go Taysom. I'd go Cade Otton. Tim says he's hearing on NBCSportsEdge.com, powered by Rotoworld, of course, that Russell Wilson may have a significant hamstring injury. Oh, really? Did I miss that? Shoot, like right when I log on, that happens. Ugh. Who? Yeah, okay. So that's why I saw someone in the chat ask me, who is the Broncos backup? And I'm like, why are we talking about the Broncos backup? This is what happens when you can't be eternally logged on. Yeah, Brett Rippon, nephew of Mark Rippon, former Washington great. He is the backup. This is a complete debacle for everyone in the Broncos offense, including Latavius Murray, including Greg Dulcich. Everything I've said so far is null and void if Rippon starts. Man, that stinks. I mean, Russell Wilson's not good, but Rippon is bottom tier bad. Oof. Have I heard anything about Rashad Bateman? Not really. I mean, there haven't been many updates, at least no positive updates. Should you drop him for Wan'Dale? That's interesting. I tend to say no. I mean, do you have to start Wan'Dale? I guess if you need to start Wan'Dale this week, then I guess the answer is probably yes. But man, that's tough to kind of make that move after you drafted Rashad Bateman in like the 7th or 8th round. All right, guys, I'm going to get to as many questions as I can over the next 4 minutes. Joe says, I have Chubb, Cook, Pierce. Well, congratulations. You have the greatest running back stable of all time. Do I trade Cook for a wide receiver 1? Yeah. If you can do that, try to acquire Deontay Johnson. I talked a few minutes ago. If you want to rewind the tape, you watch the film, folks. You watch. That's what I say. Always say. You watch the film. Watch the film. Rewind the tape. Listen to me talk about Deontay Johnson. He's a buy low, so maybe try that. All right. We have. Is it dumb to throw Eno and Henderson to the waivers? No. I mean, James Conner, once he's back, Benjamin is absolutely. I'm trying to avoid dehumanizing language here. He's not usable for fantasy purposes. When do I take Kyle Pitts off my bench? I don't know. I mean, when Arthur Smith loses his job, but he won't. The Falcons love him, and the Falcons are winning, which is the worst thing that could possibly happen to fantasy managers. Okay, we've been cursed by a Falcons team that has figured out how to win running an offense from 1987. This is disastrous. All right, let's get to some more here. Broncos Broncos country, let's rip it. They're down bad, is what I'm saying. Diego's right. The Falcons have the worst fantasy offense since the Calvin Coolidge administration, but I'm also once again begging Diego Lopez to stop being political. This is not the place for politics. You keep that at home. You don't bring it here. Thank you. Oh, yeah. Folks, top 10 insurance running backs. I included just a laundry list. I think it was like 12 running back stashes in my column, which is on NBCSportsEdge.com. Everybody from, guys like Khalil Herbert to there's a guy named Kevin Harris, who ran as the running back 2 behind the Ramondre Stevenson, well behind Ramondre, obviously, in week 6. It looks like he would be next up in the pecking order if something were to happen to Ramondre. Please, no, please, never happen to Ramondre. I'm knocking on wood. All right. But yeah, check it out. I have a lot of options there. Lutz or Mar this week. Oh yeah, no, you're or not Mar, it's Mayher or something. Go with Mayher. D-Hop, I would go with Chris Olave this week. Chris Olave is like a target monster. He has a great profile. He sees tons of downfield stuff and has a high targets per route run rate. I'm not saying DeAndre Hopkins is a bad option. In fact, I'm pretty bullish on him right now, but I would go with Olave. Jets defense or Raiders this week. I would go Jets. Jets. Let's get to 2 more. Zachary says, with Zeke at my running back 2, who is in my flex? Brian Robinson. All right. Who should I be starting and trade? I'm sorry, I can't think of that right now. Oren says, Garrett Wilson is my wide receiver 7. Is Wilson a drop without hesitation this week? No. Don't do that. I'd rather have Garrett Wilson than Wan'Dale Robinson right now. So let's not let's pump the brakes a little bit. All right. Last one. Tyler says Olave, Garrett Wilson, Dobbs, or Renfro. Is this if this is a start sit question, it's Olave by like 6 miles. Okay. Thanks, folks, for joining me today on the Waiver Wire Q&A. You can find my waiver piece at NBCSportsEdge.com. You can find me immortally logged on to Twitter at CDCarter13. Thanks again. See you next week.